Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel, and I just thought I would do another discussion video. So, if you watch my channel, you've seen any of my videos, you know that I have a pretty multi-interested personality, I guess you could say. That's why I do the Exploring Worlds as the main series on my channel, in which I go on different small adventures and covered all sorts of different subject matter and interview different people, things like that. A lot of, like, no set specific genre, I guess, kind of covers a whole bunch of different things. And also, again, if you watch the channel, you probably know that I have a skeptical yet enthusiastic interest in some of the stranger things that you can find out there in the world. And one of the things that comes along with that is the concept of a hoax. And I've been thinking of this quite a bit, and I'm just going to try to share some thoughts that might be unique on the matter. Um, so I'm going to be talking a bit about, there's a couple of things I'd like to cover before I get into this. I'm going to be talking about lies and deceit. But what I want you to know is that a hoax is different than, it's the same but different than that. I'm not talking about, lies and deceit when it comes to relationships or friendships or family, anything like that. That's a whole different concept than what I'm meaning here. In that sense, you would have every right to be offended or hurt or against that. But a hoax is those things, but it's different. It's on more of a wide scale, whether it's a global scale or a community scale, or it involves a larger group of people. It's not so personalized. And, I'm not going to use any tons of examples of the paranormal, but there's a lot of this within, people that research and document paranormal type events and things like that. Like the one thing that they're trying to weed out is a hoax, which is basically a trick or a lie that some mysterious thing happened, or somebody seen something unusual and it turns out it was, they were lying, they were making up the story, or they cleverly edited and spliced together some sort of fictional video depicting it, that, a photography expert, a video editor expert, determined that it had been manipulated heavily and was faked, basically. So I'm not talking tons. Also, this video isn't geared towards, the victim or the person who fell for the trick that then feels, ashamed that they fell for it, kind of a thing. But if you are one of those people, I still invite you to stick through the video, because it might add some further perspective. If you are somebody who is any sort of investigative journalist or nonfiction writer, or um, um, any sort of anybody who creatively has an obligation to look into these things, one of the main things that you're going to try to weed out is a hoax. Like, are these people lying? Is this real? Is this, you know, um, some sort of elaborate hoax? And a lot of times when I watch these documentaries, when I hear these people talk, they're so disappointed when something turns out to be a hoax. And I can understand that, because if you're enthusiastic about, the world being more complex and deeper than it might appear to be, You might be heavily disappointed in just really trying to weed out the hoax. And I think you should try to find it if you do this sort of thing, and you should try to determine if that's the case and not, blindly believe in something or gloss over evidence that something is a hoax due to emotional reasons. I think you should really try to figure that out. But I don't think a hoax is something to be as disappointed about as a lot of these people um, make it, in the sense that a hoax is a very fascinating thing. I mean, if you're like me and you're just interested in all sorts of things, you try and you're emotionally attached to it in the sense that you're fascinated by it, you enjoy looking into it, you enjoy hearing what people have to say about it. You get a thrill out of taking part in documenting it or writing about it, or doing something creative with it in some way, shape, or form. Then a hoax shouldn't be a disappointment. A hoax is actually a very fascinating thing. A lot of times, and I hate to use this word when people take something seriously, I hate to use the word fun all the time, but I think it's important to, if you're doing what you enjoy doing, you should work hard. You should grind through all of those bad moments and all of those tasks that are difficult, and you should be serious about it. You should be seriously wanting to create something and send a message and add some artistic flair to whatever it is you're doing. But it should, if it's what you enjoy doing, it should be fun. It shouldn't be this deep, dark, serious, um, um, you know, head down kind of a thing. Head down, gritting your teeth kind of thing all the time. It should be something fun. It should be something that you enjoy doing. And most hoaxes are relatively innocent in the sense that it's somebody who thought it would be funny, thought it would be fun to make it seem like something happened when really it actually didn't. And they're sort of watching behind the curtain, watching people investigate this, watching people fall for it, and they're having a chuckle about it, right? And so it's really fun when you investigate something like that and you have that as your as part of your overall catalog of something that you've looked into. And I think most people have an aesthetic to them, and it doesn't matter. Like, you can be it like no matter what costume you're wearing, you're always you. Like, you could put on different clothes, you could dress up as somebody that is different, you could put a costume on of some kind, and it's still you, complemented with whatever you've decided to put on, or whatever you've dressed or disguised yourself as, per se. But it's still the aesthetic of you, complemented by that. So you are witnessing the aesthetic of somebody who creatively will create an elaborate lie or an elaborate hoax. And if you have any sort of interest in sociology, anthropology, things like that, that is very important. That is knowledge that you have obtained about reading people better. If you've completely fallen for it, then it's an opportunity to practice humility and owning up to your mistakes and publicly stating that you've made this mistake, and you did your research wrong, you fumbled on something. If you like investigating things, if you enjoy delving deeper into things in any way, it is a fun thing to look into. And it's also it's also just as mysterious within itself. I mean, a lot of times, if it's something abnormal, something paranormal, which is actually pretty much the same thing. In word use, paranormal, abnormal. Like paranormal is kind of a fancy word for abnormal, really. So I shouldn't really use those two words together. But if it's paranormal or unique or bizarre, strange, could potentially prove something that hasn't been proved before. Um, it is still, I mean, the idea of somebody creating a hoax around it is still just as mysterious in the sense that it's more a human-based mystery, and a human-based mystery is still a mystery nonetheless. It's no different than a police officer investigating a case or something like that. It's, again, not to repeat, but it's more fun than that. A police officer investigating a case is a little bit more serious, and it can be dark sometimes, and and serves a greater purpose as far as, you know, preventing really bad things from happening. But in the same aesthetic, somebody who's investigating something that turns out to be a hoax um, it's a human-based mystery, and it is still, it's abnormal, it's still paranormal in the sense that not most people aren't doing that. Not everybody is doing that. Even people that sort of might think of it as a little bit of a fantasy and kind of laugh to themselves about it aren't actually going to spend the time and the money and the effort and all that sort of thing to actually go out and create something like that. So when you find out that somebody's done that, when you come to the conclusion that that's the case, are learning more about a human mystery. You're learning more about the human psyche and what different people of different backgrounds and different beliefs will do. And it's just another interesting thing to catalog down. And basically the moral of this is that you can have fun with a hoax. A hoax actually is still a paranormal event that is worth looking into and is, you know, it's worth celebrating almost in a strange way. It's almost like if you look at like the classic Wild West stories or something like that, like you almost sort of root for the outlaws in a way because they are the characters have so much wit to them, kind of a thing. It's almost like that. Like in a way, you almost root that these guys make it with their hoax because you admire the you admire sort of the wit and the sense of character that it takes to pull this off properly and stick to it and plan it all out in a way that works. And it's just, to me, I guess maybe I'm too open-minded and on the outside of things to um, for my own good sometimes, but I almost find it entertaining rather than I do disappointing. And I think there's all sorts of ways that it could be looked at in a constructive way instead of just like, oh, like this is a complete bummer. It turns out that this was a hoax. Um, because a hoax, it is, you can be, you can be it's a lie, it's deceit, it's a ruse, but it, as I said earlier, it's at a global scale, it's at a community scale, it involves all sorts of people, and generally it's something fun and also harmless to the safety of others. It can be taken, like all things, it can be taken to dark places, and it has, but it's more or less, for the most part, um, harmless. And you know, it's like nobody's gonna say, like, you know, say a relationship ends or a friendship ends or something like that. Nobody's gonna say, oh, you know, yeah, I'm really heartbroken right now, I'm really sad, it turns out that the relationship or the friendship was a hoax. And if they do, it's a joke, basically. It's an exaggerated way of expressing their feelings, of using a word that you wouldn't expect in that sentence. But they might say, oh yeah, the relationship, the friendship, whatever, was a lie, or it was a deceit, or it was a ruse, or it was, it was fake, whatever. And that's more of a deeper emotional thing, and that isn't to be taken lightly, and that is to be handled with care and empathized with, and all of us have been there, and everybody in that situation needs and deserves all the help that the people who are actually close to them can muster. But when it's at a community level, it's a little different. It's not so personal. It's not so hurtful. And if you put the passion of wanting to be the one to prove that something is real, or be, very honest in your portrayal in this documentary that you're making, or this piece of writing, I'd encourage you to not look at it so seriously and have some fun with it, and also look into all of the fascinating aspects of the human mystery, to the human psychology, and human ingenuity, really, when it comes to crafting a hoax. And if you really were rused into it to such a degree that you've been made a fool of, then I wouldn't cancel your book, or stop writing it, or take down your documentary or your YouTube video, or hide away from the people that you spoke to this openly about. Because there's an opportunity to practice, humility, admitting that you were wrong, and owning up to it, and facing the criticisms for it, which will ultimately make you better. It seems strange that this is more life advice would that might be better served on a different within a different aesthetic than a hoax, but I've watched a few documentaries about like these grand hoaxes lately, and just noticed some of the ways that the people talking about it are so serious about it, and it just got my mind rolling about different ways to look at it, in bringing other aspects of life into it. And I just thought I'd share that. I hope I did a good job with this. I was kind of struggling to sort of articulate this in a way that makes sense, and I hope I did the best I could, and I hope it works, and I hope it gives some perspective and was worth your time um, watching. And if you enjoyed this, I thank you very much, and love to hear your comments down in the section below. Thank you very much. Have a great day.